Yes. My name is Ghanim Ghanim.
You can look at it.
Yes. And basically, I was born in Gambia, West Africa. At the age of 9, I went to Lebanon to school, boarding school. I stayed there for 5 years to learn Arabic and culture, and then I went back to Gambia at the age of 14. I continued my schooling in Gambia, which was the British system. And when I finished, I went to America to continue my higher education. And over there, I majored in chemistry and minored in mathematics and physics. And after graduation, I went to postgraduate and did biochemistry and research in physical organic chemistry. In that year, half of the semester, I was a teaching assistant in the first year chemistry labs. And the second semester, I was a research assistant in the biochemical labs, which I did all the techniques they use in biochemistry, all the different machines, and we had 15 PhD students working. And then I left America, went to Gambia, Africa. My father, like normal Lebanese people, were business people in the jungles far away in West Africa. So he asked me to open a shop and sell textiles. I had no choice, but when by chance our missionary father, head of the schools that I was in when I was young, passed by and saw me selling textiles, he was shocked. He said, "What are you doing here? You went to America and came back here?" I said, "Well, this is our tradition, you know." So he said, "No, come down to the mission and report. We want mathematics teachers." So I went to the mission school, St. Augustine's Mission School, and reported. I started teaching mathematics. A few months, there was an ad for scholarships to Australia for the Commonwealth countries. So my friends investigated in the education department, and they asked me to fill the form, although it was late. But the next day the committee met, and I was unanimously voted to go to Australia on a scholarship. So that's my next step, was going to Australia, studying at the University of New South Wales, postgraduate. I did research techniques in chemistry, and then I went to Sydney University. I did a diploma in education for teaching math and science. And so my career started in teaching. I ended up doing many things as an adventurer, side, little things like gardening, private teaching, taxi driving. In Australia, you are free to do anything, you try to do anything. But I ended up teaching for many years in about 25 high schools and 3 technical colleges. And finally, I left Australia. I left Australia because I wanted to see my parents, and I wanted to go out and see the world again. I didn't realize, but I was an adventurer. I had another transplantation, I went to Lebanon, and from there back to West Africa. I did some teaching a little bit. Then I went to England. There was nothing much I could do in England because they didn't have positions for teaching. So I came to Lebanon. I found an ad for a math and science teacher for the oil company in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Aramco, the oil company was called Aramco. Arabian American Oil Company. So then I got married, and within a few days they called me for an interview, and I was one of the top people among 80 people. So they took me to Saudi Arabia. It was in Saudi Arabia, another transplantation of civilization. I stayed for 33 years. And my children were born there. I retired at the age of 60, but they did not want me to leave. So they employed me for another 12 years. By the time I got into the age of 72, I had to leave. I told them I want to go. So I came to Lebanon and settled down with my family. My kids completed their university education. They all graduated, 3 girls, no boys. And I have my own mansion, land, and apartment in Beirut. And as soon as I arrived, my daughter registered me in the American University in Beirut in a program called the University for Seniors. It's a new program, and from that time I have been registered. It's 2.5 years now. This is my mental stimulation, because if I stop, I will fragment and die immediately. So that kept me going, and suddenly my daughter here, she's married here, she asked me to come and visit. And we have a break. Usually we have a break in the summer when it's hot and in the winter when it's cold. But during the spring season and the autumn season, we attend courses. And this is a unique program for those people above 50 years old. And it's widespread, extremely successful. I rebuilt a new family. That's a kind of another paradigm shift, entering a new world. This is the first time I come to Africa after about 34, 35 years.
Means you never came back to Gambia after the last time you left?
I came back once to take my father to Lebanon. That was in 1983. So it's about 34 years. And this is the first time, although everyone is inviting me to go back to Africa, to go back to Australia, to go back to America, to go back. But I wanted to have a rest. I get excited. I am an adventurer. I have been transplanted so many times from civilization to civilization. So this time I responded to my true nature. I wanted to come back.
To your roots.
Yes. So I am enjoying it so much, and the people here, the young guys, have taken me around. I have videoed, and I love the nature so much that I feel that I am in cloud 99, because I love nature. I am a child of nature. The same thing I did. In America, I used to go to the forests, and I studied botany, and I used to study the trees. Same thing in Australia. They have some mountains and eucalyptus trees. So in my free time, I used to go camping and watching nature. This is a big opportunity for me, so I came in, and the guys have been very cooperative, excited. They're taking me everywhere. So I feel that this is another quantum jump, what we call a paradigm shift. We call it quantum jump, paradigm shift. So that's my situation. I enjoy it so much, and it's good for my health. The breeze, the natural oxygenated air in the country, in the countryside.
And if I had to ask you, what is your motherland?
My motherland, because is where I feel emotionally settled. I have been all around the place. The whole world is my land, because wherever I go, I adjust automatically. I am at home almost everywhere. But then I have to select and filter out the things which I don't like. Simple things like in Gambia, West Africa, what I did not like is the malaria. But I love the nature, the forest, and the people, the different culture, and I love the folklore very much. Before I went to America, I recorded folklore, took it with me to America, and I enjoyed it. So, each country I find something extremely good, which I adjust and enjoy, and things that can be annoying, I don't have to live with it. Lebanon is where my emotional roots are, my relatives. That's number one. Number two, right now I am, for several years, I go and come to Lebanon. Apart from my relatives, where I live, it's a village called Hanawai, I feel like a lord, because I have the respect, I have the love, and I feel like a chief. Okay? And they call me Haj Ghanim, Haj Ghanim, Haj Ghanim everywhere I go. So, emotionally, I am very happy. Physically, I have a home. I feel secure and serene. When I sleep and wake up in the morning, I look at the beautiful countryside, the birds are singing, and I feel like I'm in heaven.
Do you remember the first memory you had about Lebanon?
The first memory I had was in 1952, when I was 9 years old. I just came in, my father took me to introduce me. My father was a migrant. We are multiple migrants.
Yes.
We are layered migrants. And there is a lady who wrote a story about migrants. The Lebanese migrants, she made a metaphor about them. She called them Tuyur Aylul, the birds of September. In September, the birds come to the village and they hover around and then they leave. That's the migrants. We are like migrants. And then, after a long time, you find one old bird coming. He's sick and tired. He cannot fly, and he drops down dead. That's her ending of the story of the migrants. But then this is at the university, we have exposed to so many things. But I said to her, I am a multiple layer migrant, and I don't want to drop down dead. I am starting a new life. So my first experience was totally different from Africa, Gambia, West Africa to Lebanon. In those days, the villages were simple, very few population, very little facilities, and even they had to carry a chair from one house to another house for me to sit there. That was how poor they were. But I was excited because my aunties they are strongly emotional, very emotional. So they used to hold me and kiss me, and they used, "Ya tu'burni, ya habibi, ya this, ya that." And that made the strongest impression on me. So when I went all around the world, that was the love and emotion of my aunties, and was a permanent impression. But of course, the cultural difference is that in Africa, I didn't have people running around kissing me. So as a 9-year-old, I was a bit upset. I told my father in African language, in Wolof, so they will not hear me, that I don't like them kissing me, you know. They are, no, I don't like them kissing me. So my aunties asked, "What is he bothered about?" He said, "No, treko la wahdo, leave him alone. He's not used to being kissed so much, you know. Everybody kissing him so much." But that was the overwhelming love. Now, they didn't have facilities, but I'm used to jungle life, so I didn't bother about facilities. It was the change in the human relations, the change in the culture. But I happen to love Lebanon. And that was the sparking point for me to keep on going and coming, like the birds of September, and staying alive. So from there, when I went to America, I came back to Lebanon. When I went to Australia, I came back to Lebanon. When I came to Saudi Arabia, we had to every year leave as expatriates. So I used to go to Lebanon every year. After I retired for the first time at the age of 60, I sent the family home. My daughters continued their education, some in the Emirates, some in Bahrain, some in Lebanon. And I stayed this time in Saudi Arabia for an extra 12 years, going and coming more than once a year. This time I was on my own, so my family was in Beirut. So I had a chance to go and come, and I adjusted myself with the techniques of survival, because Lebanon has been under war, the regional war, and we are used to it. And thank God, alhamdulillah, we survived. And when there was the war in the Gulf, that was 1990, the rockets that were coming to Saudi Arabia from Iraq made the people scared very much. And I was teaching my students, and my students were scared. It's the first time they're exposed to rockets and war. And I was teaching calmly, nothing. And he said to me, "Ustaz, ante ma tkhaf? Aren't you afraid?" I said, no, we are used to these things, you know. We don't worry about these things. The rockets will pass over our heads, we'll go there. So I stayed, but many people had to leave the eastern province, Mantaqa al-Sharqiyya, and they went to their original homes. They went to Najran, to Jeddah, to Riyadh. So I got used to the culture of war and adjusted. When I came back, in between, there were different wars in Lebanon, and my kids were young, so I had to use my tactics to collect my kids, put them in a room far away from the border where the rockets, Israeli border actually, there was. And my youngest daughter was small, so I put her on my chest, held her, and the whole family. And the next day, we had to go somewhere else. So I got used to it, but the identification, the totality of belonging for me is based in Lebanon. But as a human being, an adventurer, I even consider here, coming here, like it's like my second land, my second home. And they asked me, I just videoed this. They asked me when we went to the road to the zoo here. We stopped. I said, I want to have some coconut. I drank the coconut. I enjoyed the breeze, the scenery. And they gave me an interview. I said, which one do you like better, Africa or the Arab countries? So I told them, I like Africa better than the Arab countries. And they said, why? I said, I'm speaking from experience, from love. Experience, of course, they don't have I did not experience the wars in Africa like I did in the Arab countries. And I have discovered so many things over the years that made me filter, remove my subconscious rubbish so that I can consciously be able to enjoy life and realize my potential, what they call self-realization. We are doing this in the university. They are teaching us everything about mindset paradigm shift, how to become successful in dealing with people, and I am using all the techniques that we are learning alive. And this is making me a new person. I almost died last year from the cold and some infection, but they revived me, and now I have developed a strong philosophy. That's the philosophy of reversal back to nature. Reversal from artificial civilization, so-called civilization. So now I have revived myself by cell rejuvenation. Changed my nutrition, moved away from drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, artificial, because I'm a scientist, I'm a researcher. And now I am moving into the best food, the best natural healing plants, food, and I classify them, and this is my own shift. And I have done a blueprint on how to create a new unit to remake not only the nuclear family unit, but an extended unit that we can live anywhere, even if the civilization completely goes down. If they close the supermarket, there's no electricity, we are happy living by ourselves. That's
About the, well, according to what I know, the Lebanese people are more spread in Western Africa. So, as you live there in Gambia, I would like to know what do you think they've brought to the culture of maybe Gambia or East or Western Africa over there?
Well, from my experience, Gambia is a different situation from Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is a different situation from Ghana.
Of course, yes.
Ghana is a different situation from Nigeria. But they adjust to the environment. But one thing that is common to them is they speak the African languages and they interact very well with the Africans in degrees. Gambia, the African people and the Lebanese, they are almost free, they're friendly, they talk the languages, and it is so easy. You feel secure. There was not a single crime in Gambia in those days. Nobody stabbed anybody. And you used to walk at night till early in the morning. The women and the children, nobody will say anything to you. Some of them will know you. They will say hello to you. In Sierra Leone, I went to Sierra Leone. I discovered that it depends on which villages you came from Lebanon, and that village's emotional, mental culture can be transferred to Africa. In Sierra Leone, I found that they don't interact as compared to Gambia. They don't interact much with the Africans. It's mainly business. But Gambia is social. They go, it's very unusual. Okay, that's why I find Gambian Lebanese who have settled in Lebanon, but they are still emotionally Gambian. They love Gambia. They act like Africans even when they are in Lebanon. You know, there are some things you don't do in Lebanon, like shaking hands, men and women freely, or kissing each other freely. You don't do it. It's the Gambians, when they come to Lebanon, they go, they kiss each other, they shake hands, they do it totally, and they look at them like. In Ghana, it's a different situation in Ghana. In Ghana, the Lebanese are integrated and they have done so much for the society. They are well respected and they speak the languages, the Fanti, Ashanti, Twi, and all the languages. And there are about 20,000 Lebanese, because I spoke to Ghanaian engineers. I get from each one their situation. Nigeria is very difficult. It's a violent society and very insecure, and the Lebanese, unless they have power and security guard, they don't expose themselves out, because Nigeria is about more than 200 million population, tribal, and they had a war. So in Nigeria, they don't come out and walk easily in the streets. Okay, so they adjust. The other thing I found, all down to Central Africa, the French Equatorial, down to Angola. Angola is recent. There is the African, the Lebanese in between, and the European. Okay. The European have a formal European mind. Okay. Even in business, they can open at 9, close at 5, and they don't have much to do. But the Lebanese, for 24 hours, he's with the African. He solves his problems. He has a problem here, he has a problem here. So he becomes the tribal chief of the African. The relationship it's very interesting. The African will prefer to work with a Lebanese than to work with a European, because the European does not have the social, emotional feeling for the Africans like the Lebanese. Lebanese they have ancient civilization, so to speak. So they adjust very well everywhere you go. Now, not just in Africa. If you go to the Arab world, Al-Khalij, everywhere, you find the Lebanese is unique in contribution and the people like them.
But do you think there are also sometimes some stereotype about Lebanese people?
Who stereotyped them?
I don't know. For example, in Gambia, as you lived in Gambia, maybe. You know.
Yeah, there is no 100%
Yes.
of anything.
No.
It's a kind of a statistical thing. You know, you say 50%, maybe 60%, maybe 70%. But the environment definitely creates the culture and interaction. Mm-hmm. The tribes which live in Ghana are very different from the tribes that live in Nigeria. And they are different from the tribes that live in Gambia. Gambia have the Mandingo, the Wolof, the Fula, the Serer, Tukulor, Sarahuli, Manjago, Bambara, Susu, all these tribes. And each tribe, whether they are Muslims or not, or pagans, the interaction is, it has a lot of relativity. So you can say, you can generalize a little bit, but there is no such a thing as 100%.
No, of course, but it was more on the mood of humor. I mean, do you know which kind of stereotype are turning around? For example, the Lebanese people, as we can say, there are some stereotypes about Belgians, or do you know maybe some?
Stereotypes?
Yes.
Well, stereotypes comes from indoctrination, brainwashing. Mm-hmm. It can come from outside. Induced from outside. For example, in some countries, they induce the Africans against the Lebanese because they think that the Lebanese are exploiting them. Mm-hmm. But even when there is a revolution, if the Africans have a revolution, they don't harm the Lebanese, no matter what. In fact, the Lebanese will say, come, what do you want? Take this and that. But when it comes to the Europeans, they are more violent because they feel that emotionally they are much, much closer to the Lebanese. The culture, you know, you speak a language, khalas, you are one of them.
Yes.
You speak.
And yes, I speak Swahili. And what do you remember about that subject from if you remember Wolof, because it was the language you were speaking there, is there some words of Arabic?
Yes, I remember one day I had a fight with the Africans. And the Africans, they were afraid of me because I was a fighter. And they called me, they used a word, say, Ki Jambarla. Jambar, it comes from the Arabic word Jabbar, Abadai, strong. So they said, oh, he is a strong man, don't get close to him. Okay. He is a killer. So, but the other words come from the Islamic Arabic.
Yes.
Salam alaikum. In the Mandingo language, they say, Kerabi. Yani, are you, hal anta bi khair? Kerabi. I discovered that there is an expression in Saudi Arabia which they use in Senegal. You ask them in Wolof, Nakangadef, how are you? In Gambia they say, Jammarek. Jammarek means everything is in good. In Senegal they answer you, Mangifi. Mangifi, that means I am here. In Saudi Arabia they use fi. A lot. Like ana fi. I am here. That means I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm here. Well, in English language you say, oh, I'm fine, thank you, or, in other languages. But expressions vary with who came and who went and how they used, etc. But they use a lot of Arabic words from the Quran. That is everywhere in the Muslim world. Iranians use the language with Arabic words. Turks use the language with Arabic words. It's very similar, but different degrees. Different degrees. So there are many words here. If I learn Swahili, it will be much easier for me.
Yes, many words in Swahili.
There are many words. Like
Kitabu.
duka.
Dukan.
What is duka? The shop.
The shop.
It comes from dukan in Arabic. It's just the dukan. Some ending is left. And how do you say welcome in Swahili?
Shikamoo, marhaba,
Yeah.
karibu.
Karibu.
Those two.
Karibu comes from the word karibu. Karibu means you are part of the family. You are welcome. Anta karibi. You are my relative.
Okay.
Welcome. You are part of us. So it's very interesting, but Swahili has more Arabic words modified with time, more intense than the rest of West Africa. The West African, they have religious words. Salam alaikum, everybody knows Salam alaikum. Allahu Akbar, everybody knows Allahu Akbar. But different tribes will use these loan words according to how they. I have a funny story. My cousin, it depends on where they were born. If they are born in the region which is Mandingo, they speak Mandingo very well. If they are born in a tribe which is Fula, they speak the Fula. If they are born in the city, they speak Creole or Wolof very well. So a cousin of mine was born in the country and he speaks Mandingo fluently. He was a trader buying peanuts. Now in that part, some Africans have never seen a Lebanese or a white man, but they grow peanuts. This man came with his donkey and carrying his peanuts. He stood in line and he listened to them arguing business. How much you weigh, how much is this, how much is that. My cousin was talking Mandingo like them, 100%. When my cousin came out, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, la ilaha illa, he's a devil. How can a white man speak Mandingo? So, and he jokes in their language and he tells them everything. It's just Mandingo with a different color. But this happens a lot. I went once to Senegal in the early days. I listened to a Lebanese speaking to a Wolof guy. Believe me, they speak the language perfectly with them. They talk, they discuss, they do this, they do that. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. So this is a special gift. No, but the Lebanese also, they go out and they speak English. They don't have this heavy accent. You know, they speak English, they speak it much better without a heavy accent. When you go to Nigeria, for example, the Nigerians they have a heavy tribal accent.
Yes.
So when they speak English, they don't speak it like the Gambian. The Gambian speaks English very much closer to the British English almost. If Nigerians say, I want to tell you what is going on here, you know, this is all the intonation is tribal, very heavy tribal. Sometimes you can't understand what they say. But when you come to Gambia, because Gambia is the entrance of the Europeans. Guinea, they speak Portuguese very close to the Portuguese, very well. Gambia, they speak English very close to the English. Senegal, they speak French very close to the French. But when you go inside, then the tribal effect will take place. They will have an accent, they will have an intonation, they will have use different words. The influence comes from interaction, social interaction. So that's, but there are, the words come in, it's everywhere, not just in Africa.
That's very interesting about the language. And I have a very last question about the Lebanon. And if you had, for example, to leave Lebanon, or when you travel, because you are a big traveler, so what is there an object that you take with you which represent the most your country, or is there something that you carry on to, like a memory or something you always take with you?
Well, Lebanon, usually they use the symbol of the cedar tree.
Yes.
That's one. But the other thing is the food. They try to, like in Australia, the Lebanese food now, everybody stand in line and you have to book, you have to do, it's becoming very popular. Same thing in Gambia. The Africans are cooking Lebanese food and they are very popular. They know tabbouleh, they know kibbi, they know fatayr, they know all these things. So it is popular in Africa, in Australia, in many places. The food is one, and the items like the cedar tree souvenirs is another one. The rest is the belonging to the culture is very strong. But now at the university, we have all these old, above 50 years, Lebanese. And they from Lebanon, and they come from everywhere, Canada, France, Italy, America, Australia, and all their experiences are there. We attended a lecture where in Lebanon specifically, because they are exposed to French, English, Arabic, basically main ones, plus other languages, you find a Lebanese speaking 3 languages mixed together. Sabah, how are you? Hello. Yani, what else? Marhaba, Sabah, how are you? You know, it's mixed. So now this guy, the linguist, gave us a lecture and he called it Arabizi, like Arabic English, Arabizi. It means that the Lebanese has been exposed to so much outside culture that he is losing his language. Now the old people are saying they want to come back to learning the Arabic language, to teach them properly, because they are losing the proper practice of daily Arabic. They are losing it. And you find that someone who has traveled, he talks with his kids in English. Or they speak French, like they are in France. Okay. And if they go to the Gulf, we use Gulf words. And if my Saudi Arabian colleagues, sometimes they hear me saying a word, a slipping word of Lebanese, they say, oh, هذه كلمة لبنانية. He identifies me as Lebanese. Like, أستاذ غانم عم بيحكي مثل اللبنانية. It's cute, like, you know, you have an accent or something. You're not speaking like them 100%, but you have a Lebanese word expression coming in. But in general, I went to Kuwait. The Kuwaitis have a very strong relationship with the Lebanese. During the Gulf War in Saudi Arabia, they stopped many Arabs, Jordanians, Palestinians. But once they see Lebanese, أهلا وسهلا تفضل, which is plus in business, most of the businesses in Saudi Arabia were established by Lebanese. So now when I fly with the plane from Bahrain to Beirut, most of the people I saw are managers, directors, big heads, you know. They are all, that's why there is a special relationship between Saudi Arabia or the Gulf and Lebanon. Lebanon has everywhere relationship. So we have half of the Lebanon is with the eastern country, half is with the western countries, and you can find agents for Israel, you can find just anything in there, anything you want. In fact, Lebanon is an incredible mixture, but the thing, and of course they are Mediterranean in character, very close to the Italians. So when the Italians come to Lebanon, they enjoy it. They feel like they are with Italians. They're outdoor, they sit in the patios, a little bit like French. But the emotional expressions, and they are close to Mediterranean expression. The word mafia, I understand, I love. Mafia is used in Italy a lot. It's an Arabic word. It's come from the word mafia. Mafia means that, okay, they are managing. Because at one time in southern Italy, they had many Arabs, and they became the mafia, and they became, you know, they are of Arabic origin, but they speak it. So they are left alone, mafia. But there are many, 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 many words. The strange one is Malta. Malta, they speak Arabic, the grammar, but with Latin words. They use Latin vocabulary. More than half of the vocabulary is Latin, but the sentence structure is Arabic because of North Africa. These or and we took many, many, many courses on this cultural integration between Christianity and Islam. We have experts from the university. This icon, the iconographic in the mosques and in the churches, they interacted and interchanged. You find the same theme from the Quran, you can find the same theme in the Christian church, like the tree of knowledge, or the evil satanic, or the fighting between the lion and the... They gave us a lecture on that. The Christianity and Islam throughout the ages, you know, the Byzantiums and the Crusaders, but you find the different historical interactive agents were. Syria represented a very good combination. You cannot tell a Christian from a Muslim, really. I went to Damascus, I say he's calling George, and they're talking normally. And okay. Like in other places, if you see he's a Christian, those who are extremists, they have a very, 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 very bad, unhealthy attitude. All they look at you, can we kill him or not kill him? You know, this is the mentality. But Syria and Lebanon, and even Egypt and Iraq, they have a very ancient, interactive culture between the Christians and even the Jews. As long as you are not a Zionist and you think that everybody is Goyim. You know Goyim? But there is, you know, we used to have a Jewish community in Beirut. And there was a story about one guy who whose mother is Jewish. She's married in the village, Bezuri. She's married to a Muslim. And this boy, his cousin from the Jewish, from his anti-Jewish, they went to Israel. He got linked with her, he married her. He went to Israel and lived there, and they had a conflict. He speaks Hebrew very well and Arabic. But the conflict came where they held him and they told him in Israel that he is Hezbollah. And it was an interesting story. That's his cousin, and he loved her, he has kids. They gave him a choice. You stay in Israel, or you go to Cyprus, you live with her, or you leave your family and go to Lebanon. So it's interesting, the interaction was not political like it is today. Today it is very deadly because of capitalism and imperialism and expansionism.
Nationalism, extremism.
Yeah.
So many words.
So many words. But I received throughout my travels, I got nicknames, which is not scapegoating. Scapegoating is different. Nickname is something that you earn from what they observe you.
Yes.
Like when in Australia, they nicknamed me, they told me I had the highest survival index that they have ever seen. I was very strong in survival. I taught in the schools, they told me, introduced me, said, Mr. Ghanim is our staff member, and he has a very strong personality. That's how they describe me, strong personality, because it's relative. Australians, their personalities are not that strong. And the interaction between men and women is historical because they left Britain, they were convicts and so on. So when I came from America to Australia, I was used to interacting with the women in the university, just normal. I walked, there was an occasion in the university, I walked to the women, as usual. And they looked at me like this. But the men are scared, they stay like together, and the women are scared, they stay together, which is like Arabs, like...
long time ago.
Yeah, but there are differences, the personality, even though they are Anglo-Saxons, but they have, the Australian Anglo-Saxon is different from the American Anglo-Saxon, is different from the British English. They have different way to approach them. So that's one of them. And they call me, in Saudi Arabia, they call me Professor, Doctor, Encyclopedia. So sometimes when I go some places, I'm not a doctor because my education is non-linear, but they treat me like a doctor. They open, أهلين دكتور كيفك يا دكتور تفضل, and I cannot explain myself all the time that I'm not a doctor. So I just say كيف الحال, and they open the door for me, they said hello to me. Hey, doctor, go to this room. They send somebody special for me, and they treat me nicely. Even though I retired, but I went to the hospital, and they treated me like a doctor. They gave me all the treatment, they gave me everything. Here in Lebanon, they have the same thing. They like to magnify you, mubalagha. A bit extreme. If you are 50, they say this man is 75. They add a little bit. Mubalagha.
They exaggerate a little bit.
Like who?
No, I mean they exaggerate a little.
It's a mubalagha, exaggeration a little
That's
bit.
a little bit. Not a little bit. That's really funny.
So they call at the gate, as soon as they call me, أهلا دكتور, تفضل يا دكتور. I cannot explain to everybody that I'm not a doctor, I'm not. Not to break down in these things that will destroy you. You have to be strong enough, strong personality, strong character, strong understanding, strong philosopher, strong adventurer to stay alive and to stay standing. And this is why I survived many civilizations and cultures. I go to Africa, I feel happy, I can adjust with the Africans. I don't have an attitude that they call an attitude. An attitude that these are natives, these are Africans. No. I'm used to them, I talk to them, so I don't have that. Even Americans, the same thing, whatever he is, everywhere I went, I speak with them, I speak normal, no problem. With the British, but each one has a slight approach. And you have to be sociologically smart, anthropologically smart. You have that advantage of knowing cultures and civilization. So you can adjust very well. I'm very happy here. I haven't seen Africa. I'm very elated, excited. You know, and somebody asked me, I took a video. He said to me, he asked me a question about which one do you like, or where something to be in Africa or in the Arab countries. I said to him, in Africa, not Arab countries. Okay? But that's because we have things here and you have your character. Here I have the freedom, I don't have to worry about them. I love the nature because I'm a child of nature. I was born in the jungles in Kuntaur. Behind us was a jungle with lions and gorillas and so forth. Yesterday when the lion saw me, he got up